Hello, it's Jess. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. Once again, before we kick this off, no, the shelves are not finished. I'm so sorry for all the tippy tappies. Echo has decided to join us. I don't know what he's gonna do, but he's walking around my room. Okay. Do you want to lay down, bud? I have been setting up the bookshelves. The bookshelves are not finalized though. If you've read the title of today's video, if you've seen the thumbnail, you know that this is a book unhaul. And if you're wondering, Jess, didn't you just move? Shouldn't you have unhauled the books before you moved? So that you could, limit how many boxes you had to take to the house? Yes, that was my plan. That was my plan before this turned into the move from hell and everything went wrong. And so I just didn't have the time to unhaul these books before I moved. So here we are. Welcome to the new house where I'm now going to get rid of some books. Safe to say, I don't particularly recommend any of these books, otherwise I wouldn't be getting rid of them. So you know what, I don't want to have to edit a long video, so let's just get going. Let's kick this off. First up, I have House of Lies and Sorrow. This is a fantasy romance. It's not good. This is one of the most generic amalgamations of every other fantasy book ever. It was so generic and it was not well written, and I really don't recommend you pick up this series. I'm also getting rid of Woman of Light. This is an adult historical fiction with a little bit of speculative elements. When I read this, I kind of thought it was like just fine. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't really have much to say about it either. It's just fine and it's not really very memorable, and I know that I'm never gonna read it again, so I'm passing it on. Hopefully somebody else will enjoy it more than I did. I am also getting rid of American Gods and Stardust by Neil Gaiman for obvious reasons. I do not want these books on my shelf. I think I do have a copy of Good Omens somewhere, but I'm not sure where that is. So if I find that, consider that another book that I'm unhauling. This is one that I actually haven't read. It's Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This was a little bit of a double goof situation. My dear, amazing, beautiful, wonderful friend Sarah gifted me Uprooted, except she has really bad ADHD and then she forgot, and a month later she gifted me the book again. But unfortunately, I also had a goof on my part and the return window on Amazon elapsed because she just sent this to me from her Amazon. So I was unable to return it, so it is being donated. I do plan on reading this book. Like I said, she accidentally gifted me 2 copies and I do really think I'm going to like this. This is a book that I have had my eye on for a while, so don't worry, I'm not getting rid of it because I didn't like it. I just have 2 copies. Another book that I have not read, this is The Oracle Year. I got this book on clearance, and I do usually like books that have something to do with prophecy. However, I am trying to cut down my physical TBR, and to be honest, this one does not have good reviews on Goodreads. The reviews are pretty bad, and I mean, I've had this book for at least 5 years because I had it when I moved into the old house and we were there for 5 years. So I kind of feel like if I don't really want to read it, and I've also had it for 5 years, I'm probably not gonna read it. So it is a really interesting cover, and I was interested at one point, but we're passing it along. Unfortunately, I did not like Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I would definitely still try something else from Chloe Gong in the future, but I really did not like this book. It was on my most anticipated releases for the year that it came out. I got it instantly as soon as it was available, and it was just a massive disappointment. I gave this book 2 stars. I don't know if this book needed to cook longer or if it was just not for me. I'm I'm not sure, but I didn't like it and I will not be continuing this series and I'm going to get rid of it. I'm also getting rid of Blood and Steel and Vows and Runes. This is book 1 and 2 in a fantasy romance. I believe it's the Legends of Thesmar. I liked book 1 well enough. I gave it like 3.5 stars. There was like a lot of setup, and I do think that like the setup in book 1 was pretty stereotypical. I could kind of already see where the entire plot line was gonna go, but honestly I don't really care if I can see where the plot line is gonna go as long as like the journey getting there is one that I enjoy. Like I said, I gave it 3.5 stars and I was like, I like this well enough to continue to book 2 and see how it goes. I ended up DNFing book 2 because the love interest was driving me absolutely crazy. I was like, I cannot read one more page of this hot and cold wishy-washy motherfucker. I was like, I need to get out of here. I cannot stand him. So yeah, I don't recommend this here. Another fantasy romance is The Foxglove King. I gave this series a try, bought it brand new hardcover as soon as it came out. I thought that like the premise of this was really interesting. It involves like gods that have died and like their body. Like it was a really interesting premise, but I'm just gonna save you the time. It doesn't matter what the premise is. I don't care and you shouldn't care because this book is so boring. I read the whole thing and I just kept waiting for it to get fun and the whole thing is boring. Honestly, my biggest regret after buying this brand new is that I didn't just DNF it after 100 pages because I should have. Another series that I decided to DNF after I read book 2 is The Atlas 6. This is by Olivia Blake. I enjoyed book 1. I actually gave it 4 stars and I really liked it. But to be honest, book 2 just could not capture my interest. I think the main problem is that in book 1, it's really no plot, just like a ton of vibes, and then at the end finally the plot is introduced, and I'm fine with that. Like I said, I gave the book 4 stars, but the problem is that once the plot was actually introduced, when we get to book 2 we kind of backtrack and once again go back to like no plot for like the main characters. All of the interesting parts were happening to very minor characters and you would only get like a page or 2 here or there glimpsing into like the actual fun parts of the story. So like a good 85% of this book was following boring characters doing absolutely nothing, and then there'd be like 15% where I was actually really intrigued and I was like, I can't be disliking 85% of a book. I have to put this series down, so I will not be continuing this. I don't feel too bad about unhauling these two. This is Flamecaster and Shadowcaster by Cinda Williams Chima. So I read the Seven Realms series years and years ago, and I think I rated the whole series between like 3 and 4 stars. I was like, this is a fun, good time. It wasn't like my favorite thing ever, but I enjoyed it well enough, and I picked up both of these on clearance years ago, but unfortunately by the time I ended up picking up this series, I just realized that for me at least, I had outgrown it. I don't think that there's ever really like an age where you outgrow necessarily young adult, but for me personally, I just felt that I was no longer really interested in these stories, and I did feel like I was a little too old for them, to be honest. This is one case where I don't necessarily recommend this series because, like I said, I did end up DNFing it. It just wasn't for me, but I also wouldn't try to dissuade anyone from reading this because I did enjoy the Seven Realms series when I read it, so I do think that perhaps if I was just younger, I would have really enjoyed this. Because I DNF'd that series, I actually decided to unhaul the Seven Realms series as well because I was just like, listen, if I don't enjoy this, then that means that I'm probably not going to enjoy a reread of this other series. I didn't really have plans to reread it anyways, so I just decided I'm just gonna pass along this entire series. So this is the Seven Realms. It's the Demon King, the Exiled Queen, the Grey Wolf Throne, and the Crimson Crown. But wait, we're not done. I'm also unhauling the Enchanter Heir and the Sorcerer Heir, again by Cinda Williams Chima. These are part of like a completely different series, different than the Flamecaster, different than the Seven Realms series. So I hope that there is some teenager that absolutely loves these books that can find them because I'm getting rid of a whole bunch. Earlier this year, I did my first episode of TBR TBR Audit. I would like to get another episode of TBR Audit out in next month, hopefully. But that's basically a series where I am evaluating the books that are on my TBR and, you know, reading some ones that have been on for a long time and deciding whether I want to keep them or get rid of them. In that first episode, I read This Savage Song and I did like the book. I do think the book is good, but again, I just think that I have missed the boat on this book. I think my time to enjoy this book to its fullest has passed, and unfortunately, as an adult reader, I don't think that this series is going to deliver what I want from a dystopian series. So I decided that I am not going to complete the series and I will be unhauling these. These next two are a little bit sad. This is the Ravens duology. It's the Ravens and the Monarchs. This is a young adult witchy series, and I actually really love this series as just a duology. I actually highly recommend you check out this series if you like young adult books about witches. I want to keep this series, but unfortunately I read this as a buddy read with a friend that I used to game with, and that friend unfortunately had a pretty explosive falling out. It was not good, and so now unfortunately every single time I look at these books I get sad and I think about that friend. I don't want to look at these books on my shelf anymore because I don't want to be sad, so I'm getting rid of them. If you like YA witchy books, I do recommend this series. It's so fun. I am getting rid of A Wilderness of Stars. This book is bad. Honestly, like straight up, this book is bad. There are like logical plot holes all over the place. Like it's not good. I have absolutely loved other books by Shay Earnshaw, so I do recommend checking out her other works if you want to, but don't pick up this one because it's terrible. Next up is In the Nightwood. This is a book that I held on to for way longer than I should because it was a gift from Jake's grandmother. I do really cherish the books that are given to me as gifts, but unfortunately this one was like just fine. This is a book that if you were super interested, I'd be like, yeah, sure, pick it up, but I would never actually recommend. Again, it's just fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but like, there's nothing really right with it either. That's all you really need to know. I am going to be unhauling it. The final book for this unhaul is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reed, aka the single biggest disappointment in my recently read books. Oh my gosh, this book was on my most anticipated releases and it let me down so hard. I ended up giving this book a 2. This is a feminist retelling that centers Lady Macbeth, and it just really, I don't think, succeeded at all. I felt like the character of Lady Macbeth was kind of just reacting to whatever was around her. It didn't really seem like she ever stepped into her power, and the moments that she did have where she actually was a powerful woman, she only had those moments because of some other character either lending her power or forcing her into these situations. I just think that this really, really missed the mark. It was such a disappointment, especially for such an iconic villainous character. This could have been so good, and now I just want someone else to write another story of this so I can read like an actual good villainous Lady Macbeth feminist story. Like, please. Like, how are you gonna write Lady Macbeth and give her no agency in her own story? I don't need to go on a rant about this book because it's actually included in a vlog from last year, so if you want, you can like deep dive to find that in my old videos. We're just gonna get rid of this and hopefully I will forget that I ever read it. Okay, there you go. That's a short and sweet video for you. Those are all of the books that I am unhauling at the moment. Yes, I should have unhauled them before I moved, but here we are. That's life. I hope that you enjoyed the video today. If you did, consider subscribing. Let me know what your most disappointing book that you've read recently is, and I will commiserate in the comments with you, especially if it's Lady Macbeth, especially if you hated that book as much as I did. Thank you for hanging out and spending time with me today. I really appreciate it. I hope that you stay safe and stay cool this week, and I'll see you in another video soon. Goodbye.